First of all, man, congratulations, the new album. I text you this, but I truly feel I know it's coming from the hip hop side of things to say classic when I hear a project a couple of times straight through. I feel like this is a classic body of work. We're gonna look back at this.
I'm super proud of it, dude. It's the most time I've ever spent on a single body of work.
And it's 28 songs.
It's a lot of music. Dude, I wrote like 150, 160 or something.
It's so crazy because even if like I go back to like your old school shit, like your songwriting to me has always been pretty superior in terms of like your ability to write certain hooks, like, you know, thinking back to like Sunday Morning or Smoking Section. But it feels like the songwriting has just like, it's hit its peak. Like I feel like you're in your prime with the pen right now.
I think I'm getting close. I don't think I'm there yet. Because I'm starting to like learn more about music too.
Yeah.
So the more I understand how the top line, like the lyric side of what I do, works with the music side of what's happening under it, the more dangerous I'm getting with understanding how this all works together, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting too because like I think of a song like first of all, you kicked the album off with Winning Streak, which is crazy because I grew up going to NA and AA meetings. My uncle had a drug rehab and he is a recovering addict. My dad's a recovering addict. So my summer job used to be to sit in the back of those meetings.
Wow.
As like a 14 and 15-year-old.
Wow.
Collect people's stuff, you know, like because it was a part of like people who were on probation, you know.
Did you understand at that age how impactful what was happening in front of you was, or no?
I think so, man, because you would just see people break down, and like I know, you know, I always like I never have touched any like I would say hard drugs. I've done shrooms and weed and, you know, a little bit of Molly, but I've never like put nothing up my nose and shit because of I've seen it with my own eyes, like
right.
You know
the dangers of it. You got to see it at its absolute worst. It's crazy that you got to see the impact and understood the impact at that age too, because some what happens in those rooms is magical at times, man.
Right.
It's also hilarious. I've heard some of the funniest stories of my life ever in those rooms.
Because I heard you talk about it a little bit on Joe, but like how often do you try to get into a meeting and like at this point you're Jelly Roll, so I can only imagine you walking into a meeting.
Nah, man, that's kind of one of the cool things about going to a meeting is they take the anonymous side of that really serious. So that's why I haven't talked a lot about it, because I don't know how much they would want me sharing what happens in those rooms or not, dude, you know, but it's just so magical. But yeah, man, that's the cool thing is that never bothered at all, man.
Yeah.
Never bothered at all. Anytime you go, man, they're just, you know, you're just another addict or just another alcoholic to them. That's how they look at you, man.
It feels like when
it's just really humiliation, it's this thing of humiliation that happens in there in a way of like humbling, though, like in a good way of like, no matter how great we're doing today, we always reduce ourselves to know that we're still that addict at heart. So we could, that any moment this thing could go left for us. And what keeps people in constant gratitude.
I was going to ask you, man.
To answer your question, because I hate avoiding questions, as much as I can go.
Right.
You know, these days, a few a year. You know what I mean? 10 a year, maybe.
What has there been like any specific feedback you've gotten from that song, and just being like, wow, someone? Because I can't recall someone who's tackled that experience on a record, let alone kicking off an album. You know? Yeah,
it's been cool, man. I haven't got I've been so, dude. I hate to admit this, I've been so in the vortex of this thing right here.
Yeah.
I just today took the time to look at like critical reviews of my album. You know what I mean? It's been.
Do you care about that though?
No, not at all. But it just popped up on my feed, and I actually had time today to entertain it.
Right.
I didn't go search for it.
Right.
I just, you know, it's like it's there. And it's album review, and then you hit one, and you know how news feeds do on Google. It just immediately gives you the row, and you're like, well, let me just, what did Pitchfork say? What did Rolling Stone say, you know? And more than anything, it's not that I care about it. I'm just still so new to this. I care that they cared. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care if you shit on the album. The fact that you took the time to review a 28-song album that I put out is still fucking insane to me. That people care enough about what I'm doing, you know?
Yo, if by the time this comes out,
think about that. Somebody got paid
to listen to your music and give an opinion,
like a real deal, like well thought out. Like, dude, thank you. Yeah, I'm honored.
Like I mean, shit. Growing up, like, and the Source was such a big deal when you would like go and look at the mics, and but again, it'd be like just having people give a fuck from Pitchfork, or you know, if someone talked to you 15 years ago, 10 years ago. shit 8 years ago.
100. I would be so excited. The review could have just been a shit on me, and I'd been like, I'm getting reviewed, and that's still how I feel now. So yeah, but I just now am starting to see like the effects of the music that's happening. Even past yesterday, I kind of missed how big that moment was on TikTok for the first few days of like 12, 15, 20,000 women just sharing their story. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, it's crazy too, because the success of that moment on TikTok is what kind of it sped up you dropping the deluxe.
Yeah, exactly. We planned to drop the deluxe, but it was like I was going to wait a few days or maybe even a week and see if I needed to come back around. And I was kind of inspired by Post Malone because, remember, he dropped F1 Trillion and it had all these features. And then he dropped like 7 songs called the Long Bed Edition right after with 7 songs that were solo. I had these 5 like fire features come in the bottom of the 9th inning. Like, people showed up for me like Halsey, Russ, Keith Urban, Ernest. Like, all those features showed up for me like within a week of releasing.
Crazy. Now, because I remember hearing you working on some of these records, like at the beginning of the tour, just in a room backstage.
Yeah.
And like these,
we were still writing "Beautifully Broken" on the "Beautifully Broken" tour. I never thought of it that way, Kev. That's right. That's true.
That is pretty crazy.
That's a great way to put it. That's why you're a good interview.
If you're watching this, there's a good chance by the time this is released that you had the #1 album. Your first #1 album.
Yes, it was either me or Rod Wave, and
it's up. Look,
he
the
probably
battle's
deserved
up.
it more than me, and I'm happy for him.
But it's crazy to think how far you've come, bro. Like, you know, I always say when I think of music, you are an anomaly in terms of your career path. Like, this doesn't happen. I don't know if it'll ever happen again. I think that you've always heard this from when, you know, however many 50 to 100 or 300 or 400 people seaters you were doing. But I feel like what's always been synonymous with you is when people meet you, they love you. Right. And I feel like that's just happening now on a worldly stage.
Yes.
And just talk like how big of a deal is that, man? Because the last album was #5, right?
Yeah, I think last album was 5, and I was blown away that we were in that car. That's what I was talking to Joe about, and I love Joe's perspective. I needed it this week.
Yeah,
album week when Joe was like, "Don't worry about a #1 album, dude. Just worry about being Jelly Roll, man. Don't stare at the sun." That'll stick with me forever. But for me, it's still just like, I guess just being in the conversations are still so new to me. Like when I read the first time that hits whatever Daily Double drops and it goes Jelly Roll and Rod Wave within X amount of thousands of each other for what could be first week #1. And I'm a enormous Rod Wave fan.
Yeah, he's great.
Like a huge Rod, like, and as an artist, as a human, like how he's handled himself in Critical Appeal and the songs and just what he stands for. And I feel like we're singing the exact same song just over 2 different beds of music.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, it's like, I would say that we're in the same house, just, you know, we're in different rooms. You know what I mean? That's what's happening, right, with Jelly Roll and Rod Wave anyway. So just even be in that kind of conversation with him or Charlie XCX and like these are pop stars to me.